So you mentioned, visiting Fort Huachuca. What's bringing you out to Sierra Vista and Cochise County today?
Just want to be here, meet with you, trying to schedule regular meetings. We have an office here.
Yeah.
And Alicia mans the office, and so it's just an important part of the district, and we want to be present. My top priority is accessibility. I always say being a representative is more than a title. It's actually a job description. So it means getting out, meeting people, talking with them, finding out what's on their minds. And that's what we want to continue to do. We did our first Congress on Your Corner a couple of weeks ago at a Safeway in Tucson. For a couple hours, just stood out there. Probably, close to 100 people came and talked to me and wanted that discussion with their congresswoman, and I enjoy that. I really enjoy that. So we'll be doing more. We're going to do a town hall on Veterans Day on veterans. So it's going to be a town hall on veterans.
Great.
On Veterans Day.
And that's going to be in Tucson?
In Tucson.
Okay. And so what have you learned about the needs of Cochise County citizens in particular from talking to folks out here?
Well, people are struggling. I mean, it's tough. It's still tough. And my overall goal for the district is to build a strong, diversified economy for the 21st century that's sustainable. But to do that, we've got some infrastructure needs that we have to address. One of the biggest ones being water. Mm-hmm. So before we can really build the economy I envision and the future that I would like to see for the district, we really have to talk about water.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What are some of your ideas when it comes to protecting Arizona's natural resources like water?
Yeah. The delegation is working together, which is really nice because this is an issue that affects all of the state of Arizona. We're watching the drought contingency plan right now, and how that's going to be rolled out. The Colorado River is one of the most endangered rivers in the country, and it's our water source by and large. I mean, there is, groundwater that we can access down here, but it's a complicated issue. It really is, yeah.
Definitely. And so Cochise County, being quite rural, how do you kind of balance the needs of rural and urban voters?
Well, my mother's family were Republican ranchers up in the White Mountains. So I spent a lot of time on the ranch. And they've got a lot of ranching down here and agriculture. So that's a really good fit for me. I'm on the Appropriations Committee, but also on the Agriculture Committee, just to keep following that work. And so have a good rapport with the ranchers, the farmers, the growers, because of my committee work.
Definitely. Okay, so something that's on our readers are interested in, and I'm sure everyone in the nation is interested in, is this national emergency that Trump declared. I've read your statement on it. I was wondering if you wanted to add anything to that.
Well, I will tell you one thing that we're hearing from people down here close to the border is that there is not a national emergency. Was talking the other day with a rancher right on the border and asking her, are you seeing a lot of activity? And she said, actually, I'm seeing less activity than in the past years. So that's sort of the context that we're hearing about from people who know and are seeing it on a daily basis.
Yeah, definitely. And then, one of the things you had said is, calling it a fictional narrative. What kind of narrative do you think is being missed kind of about the border here?
Yeah, I think the economic narrative is definitely lacking. So we need to expand the ports of entry, and we need a new port of entry here right at the border. So that's where I'd like to take the conversation, because that would really make a difference.
Definitely. Okay. Something else that I wanted to ask you. So right now, there's more women in Congress than ever before. How does it feel to see, more women elected, and how is that going to change Congress and the decision-making processes about this country?
Two main changes that creates. First of all, women are now chairs of committee. Mm-hmm. And when they chair a committee, they set the agenda. Mm-hmm. And it's a slightly different kind of agenda, quite honestly. No offense, Ron, but it just makes a difference in the agenda. And I'm on the Appropriations Committee, chaired by Nita Lowy, and I really enjoy that work. Also, I've found in my time in Congress, women are more collaborative. So they will actually make the effort to come to the table to try to solve the problem. And I find men to be a little more competitive, So it makes a difference. I'm happy that there are that many women now in Congress. I think you're going to see some good work come out of Congress.
Definitely. And how will you continue to support Fort Huachuca?
Well, we have the office here. We are going up on our website with an application for funding so that people can, it'll be a transparent process. People can make their requests, we'll review those, take them to the committee. But we're also interested in helping all of the small towns in Cochise County to obtain grants that can help them with their, whatever they're working on.
Oh, excellent. Any particular types of grants?
We haven't gotten the grant requests quite yet.
Okay.
But things we've done in the past, we've helped with wastewater treatment plants.
Okay.
We've helped with bridges. Some of these transportation projects that are expensive for the smaller towns, we can make a big difference and help them out that way.
So one of your proudest votes was for the Affordable Care Act. What challenges are ahead for healthcare, and what would you ultimately like to see happen to improve healthcare?
Well, we still have problems with the marketplace and accessibility. My daughter's a physician. I was just talking with her the other day about this, and she supports allowing people to buy into Medicare. Mm-hmm. It's a system that exists. We're not reinventing the wheel. It's a system people like. I have yet to hear anyone say they didn't like their Medicare. And so that's a possibility. I think it's very practical. It could be done quickly and give people a second choice.
Great. Okay. Mm-hmm. I know that another platform of yours is education. So I'd love to focus a little bit on rural schools. I know that rural schools face a lot of the same challenges as an urban school does, but they're sometimes hit harder by those challenges. Do you have any ideas for how you might help rural schools?
Sure. I'm a product of rural education. And Arizona's unique in that over 80% of our land is public land. Yeah. So we fund our schools from the property tax base. We don't have that big a base. Mm-hmm. So there are two federal programs that can help us. One is payment in lieu of taxes, and the other is secure rural schools. So we've worked hard in my office to obtain the funding for those programs so that it can come back to the Arizona rural schools, and it does help.
Great.
Yeah.
Any other areas as far as education is concerned that you're focusing on?
Head Start.
Okay.
Yeah, another federal program that really helps out these small towns.
Perfect. Okay. I was also kind of curious, if you were interested in kind of expanding rural broadband infrastructure.
Yes.
Okay.
That is absolutely, been working on that for 10 years.
Oh, great.
And it still can be an issue for our law enforcement because of a lack of interoperability. The Border Patrol's told us that they've been working out the kinks in that and they're making progress. There are more towers now down here, so you don't have those dead spaces as much as you used to have. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that we're seeing improvement, but I'd like to see every place have consistent broadband. Definitely.
And let me see what else I have for you here. I was hoping you could just tell me a little bit more about the committees you're on, what kind of your focus areas are on those committees.
So I'm on 3 appropriations subcommittees. Mm-hmm. I'm on the Defense Subcommittee. So it was really important for me to visit Fort Huachuca. We want to stay in touch with the base, especially because I really enjoy that committee work. Then I'm on Energy and Water, another very relevant committee, and Financial Services. So one of the things we want to do is have some subcommittee meetings here. So bring Congress to the district and have open public subcommittee meetings on various topics. Would love to do one on water.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that the committee can hear, but also would like to do one on the border.
Yeah.
I think that what we see is the farther away you get from the border, the less you understand what's really happening. And we'd like to bring a group of members of Congress, take them down so they can actually be at the border, see what's happening, and then have some kind of discussion about it.
I know that you've mentioned technology as far as border security. Can you tell me a little bit more about the technology side of it?
Yeah. So we just visited a manufacturing plant in Tucson called Worldview. You can Google them and see what they're working on, but their technology is building these huge balloons that they're going to float, and they can put surveillance technology on those and get a much better view than what we're doing currently. But military intelligence uses unmanned UAVs to surveil the border. Those are also very effective, and they share those images with Border Patrol now.
Sure. Yeah. Gotcha. And then something else I wanted to ask about. I know that there are a number of lawsuits, regarding women's health kind of services, abortion, in the pipeline for the Supreme Court to be looking at. And I know that some folks are talking about concerns about the reversal of Roe versus Wade. If that happens, if protections are taken away, how will you fight for women's rights?
I have been consistently a pro-choice candidate. I really believe it's important, and will continue to do that. There are a lot of women worried about the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and when you're my age, you remember when you had to go down to Mexico to get an abortion, and women died. Yeah. And so do not want to see us going back to that. I'll do everything I can possibly do as a member of Congress to allow women to continue to have that choice in whatever their healthcare needs are and whatever they want.
Great. And then tell me a little bit about, how you kind of plan to keep your finger on the pulse of Cochise County specifically. Are you planning to do public outreach here as well?
We are.
Okay.
We are. Okay. Yeah, and we're talking about how we're going to set that up. One of the things I like to do are working groups on issues, specific issues.
Sure.
And so we were talking today at lunch about, does that make sense for this community? Would there be an interest? For instance, we had a healthcare working group,
sure,
environmental working group, border or immigration working group. And so would love your input at some point if that makes sense, and Alicia can organize all that. So the concept was that I like to hear from the local experts on issues, and that's how I come up with my ideas about legislation. So the first bill I introduced allows Dreamers to work on Capitol Hill, because I'd like to see a comprehensive immigration reform passed. And my idea came from my immigration working group. We would always start our meetings with the stories of a couple of Dreamers. They would tell their stories. They're emotional, they're impactful, they're compelling. And I thought if members of Congress could hear those stories, I think we could get comprehensive immigration reform done.
Definitely. And I looked a little bit at that bill. How is that kind of moving along?
I'm confident it's going to move out of the House.
Okay.
I'm hopeful that it'll pass in the Senate, and then the President would sign it.
Sure. Perfect. Okay. Let me see what else.
I introduced it in a previous term, and it didn't go anywhere, but it's moving this time.
Okay. Yeah, I was reading about it this morning and definitely thought that was interesting. Let me see what else I have for you. And Jennifer, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in at any time.
Well, I would ask a follow-up to that. It's moving forward more now than it was the last time you introduced it.
Right.
What are you attributing to that progress?
The Democrats being in the majority in the House.
Okay.
So right now we're getting co-sponsors, trying to get as many co-sponsors,
Okay.
and people are really interested in signing on to it.
I just was curious if
Yeah.
there's a little more bipartisan going there.
Yeah, there is some bipartisan support, yes, yeah.
Good.
Great. And then I would love to hear a little bit more about kind of what you think about alternative energy here in Arizona, solar power particularly.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent, and again, being on the Energy and Water Committee, that's going to be great work. You know, Gabby Giffords started this, Ron carried it through, making Arizona the solar capital of the world. You know, it's a resource, the sun is a resource we have, would like to continue their work.
Perfect. Okay. And kind of going back to the rural community, kind of your experience in rural communities, what are some of the other needs that rural communities regularly face?
You know, economic development. In the past, we've helped with small business loans and entrepreneurs getting a start. You know, most businesses in small towns are small businesses. And I'm talking mom and pop type of businesses, and helping them in any way we can. We, in the past, have set up a sort of a small business page on our website that lists resources that people can go to kind of help them navigate that whole process of getting their business started. And then I like to do small business stop-bys. You know, just poke my head in and say, hey, how's business today? What's going on? Is it better than it was last year? Or, you know, what kind of challenges are you facing?
Perfect. And then this one is kind of a more overreaching question. You're no newcomer to Arizona politics. What's something you've learned during your time serving the state?
I've learned that legislating is about building relationships. So I first learned this in the state legislature. Really made an effort to get to know all of my colleagues and find that common ground. So even though I was in the minority in the state legislature, I was able to get my legislation passed because I could find those connections and people who wanted to support the same issues that I do. And I'm continuing that in Congress. So I already have a lot of relationships, and continuing to build on that and get to know all of the members of Congress. There are some new people right now that, you know, I just go sit down. We don't have assigned seating on the floor of the House. And so every list, I'll look through my directory, find a couple of people I want to meet on the floor, just go up and say, you know, how'd you get here? Tell me your story. And that's how you get things done.
Yeah. And going back even further, what made you interested in serving the public?
Well, my parents, my dad was a Democrat, my mother was a Republican, but they really believed in public service. So that was kind of instilled in me at a young age. I had an uncle who was in the state legislature and eventually ran for governor, and I was under the age of probably 8 when that happened, but went on some campaign events with my parents. And I always say, you know, having a bipartisan household made for some interesting dinner conversations. And sometimes they were heated, quite honestly. But you know, at the end of the day, we were all family, all Arizonans, all Americans. And I treasure that upbringing now more than ever, because it's given me the ability to go to Congress and debate and hear other points of view, but not personalize it. Keep it respectful and civil. And people tell me they appreciate that. That's the way they want Congress to work.
Definitely. Anything you want to add about kind of what you're looking forward to for this term?
Well, it'd be nice if it would warm up a little bit.
We're all hoping for that. We're definitely all hoping for that.
No, thank you. You know, Ron's my district director, and he's doing a great job, and you'll see us a lot.
Great, wonderful.
I think just to add, you know that Alicia's still with us in the office, and we have the same office.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we've kept that office now for, was Jim Colby in that office?
Yep.
He was. So Colby, Gabby, myself,
Yeah.
Martha, and now Ann.
People know it here as the congressional office, and I think it's really important to have that continuity.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's good for the, people to know that people are accessible to them.
Yes,
Yeah, definitely.
yes.
And just add that constituent services is also very important to the Congresswoman, and we've got 2 of our staff hired in Tucson. We have 1 more to hire, 1 more down here, and we'll be fully staffed. We don't actually have a budget yet, so we're waiting for that.
Sure.
It'll be in March, and then we'll know for sure how much we have to spend on that. But, this is one of the largest veterans communities in the country, 85,000 plus. They've got to get help navigating the federal government. Seniors coming in about Medicare, Social Security, people wanting visa help, people who are maybe trapped. Like we had a soldier who was in Afghanistan, and his wife was having a baby, and she was having complications, and he asked for permission to go home, and he was refused.
Wow.
So we got involved with that, and got him home within 24 hours. Those are the kinds of personal involvement that Ann has asked me to make sure we have for this community and for hopefully Pima County as well, because that's what really matters. People care about what she does on votes and policy, but they really care about what she does for them on a personal level, and that's one of the things that I'm dedicated to, and that's one of the priorities that Ann has asked me to work on. So we'll be doing that for sure.
Oh, that's great. Talk to me a little bit, kind of going back to veterans, because we are such a veteran-heavy community. Talk about some of the challenges veterans are facing today and the work that you do to, help veterans navigate all of that.
Yeah, still a lot of challenges. Getting health care, navigating that whole system. We've got the Southern Arizona Veterans Hospital here. The issue is still high suicide rate among veterans. We were hearing about that today at the fort. Homelessness, lack of mental health care. The list goes on and on and on.
Definitely.
And so, I'm sure we'll hear more at our town hall on Veterans Day about specific needs right now.
Sure.
About over 50% of our casework is for veterans.
Yeah.
So it's very important to us.
Yeah. And I always like to ask this, what's the best way for a citizen to connect with you? If they have something that they want to talk about with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can go to my official website, send an email. But Alicia told me a lot of people are just stopping in at the office and saying,
Great.
"Oh, we're glad this is the office. We know where it is and we're used to it." And again, it goes back to that accessibility.
Definitely. Perfect. Anything else you guys wanted to add?
I would just add to that what Ann's already done, which is have to have her first Congress on your corner,
Yeah.
which is a little bit of a challenge in this district because of what happened back in 2011, and yet it's critical. People come because they want to, some people come, and you had it the other day when you had your first one, I've never met my member of Congress before. And you think, and it's such a big deal. I mean, they are nervous, and they're anxious, and they're so excited. I mean, sometimes I find that a little odd because we've been in Congress, and all that, but that's how an ordinary citizen looks at their member. They don't know them. So that's why Ann is going to be very visible all across the district, and she's asked me to make sure that we have regular opportunities for people to meet with her one-on-one and in town halls, and then, of course, in constituent meetings at the office and back in D.C. Of course, people come back there, but the ordinary citizen doesn't typically get back to D.C. They're wanting to meet Ann at home, and that's what we're going to do, everything we can to make sure it's available across the board for them, because, you can't really do this job, as Ann said, unless you hear what people have to say.
And having those field hearings, the committee field hearings is really important too, because people see Congress in session on C-SPAN, but they don't actually get to experience it, and so we hope to get those set up fairly quickly.
Very cool.
And some indication of how that works is that the opinion of Congress is very low, but the opinion of people's congressperson is usually much better, much higher. The institution, not so much, but If you are visible, available, and people know you care, as Ann does, that makes a big difference in their lives as well as whether or not you're going to be successful in the office.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we'll stay in touch with you. Abigail O'Brien is my communications director.
Okay.
And, we'll have to, are you getting our press releases now?
We are,
Okay,
yeah. And
okay.
I think I talked to her before.
Okay.
I think I talked to her maybe during the election.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
good.
recognize that name.
Yeah.
She's on the
so-
campaign.
Yeah, she
Okay,
was on the
yeah,
campaign,
okay.
yeah.
I've definitely talked to her before, and I know I have her contact info.
Good,
Yeah.
good. And Ron's put together a really good constituent services team. I think all of them worked for either you or Gabby or me
Well,
at some
they've
point.
all done casework.
They've done
They
casework.
know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, in the past, not in the past, but sometimes campaign staff just move over to the new district office. That's not always the best fit.
Sure.
So Ann has given us free hand to hire people who really know how to work a case. Because unless you've done it either through training and practice or just practice, it's hard because you come up against bureaucracies, state, local, federal, and the first answer is no, right? You can't get there from here. It's a rule in policy. Then I've told our constituent services staff, you've got to be tenacious. Don't ever take no for an answer, right? You have to keep at it, keep at it, keep at it.
That's the first answer you'll get from the agency.
Always.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not from us. We're like, we're going to do something about this, but
No wrong door. If you come to us with a city issue, we won't just say, go away, it's a city issue. We'll help you connect with the city or the county or whatever. You know. It's really the essence of good representation, is to serve the people that elected you, or even if they didn't vote for you, and to be accessible to them so they know that you're a real person. It's so funny, I'm sure you've had this happen to you. Sometimes when I go shopping, or when I was in Congress in the supermarket, people say, I didn't know you shopped.
I've gotten that.
What do they think?
You do your own shopping? I was like, of
You do your
course.
own shopping, right? It's interesting because, you know, Ann feels this way too. I mean, she's still Ann, I'm still Ron. I mean, you get a title, you get the position. It doesn't mean you
I also
change.
get it at the gas pump.
Yeah.
You pump your own gas?
Oh my goodness.
Well, of course.
Unless you're in New Jersey, right?
Right.
You can't do it there.
Right.
But it's interesting, the divide between elected officials, be it whatever level, and the public, I just think it's wider and wider, and we've got to do everything we can to compress it so that people don't ever feel embarrassed, awkward, you don't care, all of that. So, you know, even if we see something on Facebook and we are picking up, you know, I called somebody, didn't answer, I'm on the phone right away. Who did you call? How can we help? You know, that's what people expect.
Yeah.
Good customer service.
Yeah.
And that kind of like, that brings up a question for me, you know, because social media is kind of changing the game on lots of stuff. Tell me a little bit more about how y'all utilize social media.
We use it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're very, very active on social media. I don't know the actual numbers, but the feel I get from Abby is that she's tweeting about every hour something that's going on. But it's important. It's important for people to understand, and it's a great communications tool. You know, it's immediate, it's real time. They know what Ann Kirkpatrick's doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.